was my job to look after brother. And of course he got the goat and the wagon. And we didn't have, it was not bricked up, you know, around the house. And one time I was out watching him, and the billy goat pulled him under the house, and he got hurt. I got to whip him.
How old was he?
Well, 19, 20. And I was, what, 7 years older. I didn't have to, I was told to. Teach him how to drive, teach him how to walk, keep clean pants on him.
Not at the same time.
No, but there was Ruth, then there was brother, then there was Catherine. So I was kept busy.
Because if you learn how to drive before you learn how to put on your pants, that could be a problem.
It was.
If you learn how to drive before you learn how to put on your pants, that could be a problem if you get pulled over.
Well, see, we had a lane, and I've been driving since I was 11. Of course, not many cars. But the one story I was thinking about, we were talking about having a wreck the other day, and I was out teaching in the country, substituting for $3 a day, which I was glad to have that. So from this school, we were coming in this dirt road and approached this bridge, no sides to it, and this cow, or calf or something, went across the road and then it turned back. And the lady driving the car went this way, and this way, and then this way we turned upside down in the creek. And you couldn't find where you were upside down. Finally I found, I got my foot on the door and opened, waded out to my knees out of the creek and got the other door. The other people, well, we got out when we had enough sense to find where we were.
I never heard that story.
A lot of them. When we lived out in the country, there's a freshly plowed field between our house down here, and there was a telephone pole here. And I was spending the night with these people. He was supposed to have been a scout leader, and they had gone out. And so she had 2 sons. The baby bed was the foot, and during the night, that younger one got in the bed with her, one on each arm. And here, I was sleeping on the side of the window where he came in. I didn't hear him come in. And all of a sudden I awakened, and everybody was screaming.
A burglar?
A burglar. And here, he jumped out the window and he pushed me back on the bed. I was in the 6th grade. And the Poe house, that's what we called it then, was right across the street. And Mr. Kent heard all the noise, and he came up there. That black man had taken the ladder out of Daddy's field and brought it up there, and he cut all the telephone. And Daddy was coming up to milk the cows.
Cut all the telephone?
Telephone lines.
Oh.
At whatever hour we were trying to get Daddy. Oh, there's few stories to tell. But those are, but that old Poe house, as we all called it, is still there.
Where is this?
Out in Alco. When Brother was here, Ed took us all over that area. And Grandpa and Grandpa Robertson's house was one of the real old houses, and it had a round room. That's where we were sleeping that night. And then the kitchen had that, what would you call it, in the old houses, during the war, you'd have a separate kitchen, then kind of walk, this little walk, to go into the dining room. But Grandmother's house, in 1929, besides a crash.
The stock market crash.
The stock market crash. Miss Williams used to tell this story. I think that was the year they lost a baby. The house burned, and on this side, do you remember the well where you withdraw the water?
Sort of.
Well, that's where they put like milk and the butter down in that. And they had to pump, just a regular pump on the back porch. And then she said, besides losing the baby and losing everything on the farm, the house burned, and she said, you know, and of all things, the chimney fell in the well. that was just like grandmoney. You know, and she still laughed about it. And she asked, somebody asked her, 1927, Aunt Jean finished Huntington in music. 1929, Charlie finished in electrical engineering at Auburn. And your daddy finished in 1931 in law. And Granddaddy William said, no, I'm making a living. So that's what he said. And Dick and June are going to be doctors. They're going to do what I'm telling them to do.
And they were.
And they turned out to be doctors. He said, no, I'm making a living. Now they'll do. So, that's a few highlights. When your dad left to go to, off on the first trip,
What year are you talking about?
let's see, 1944. You were 4 months old.
Did you have to say that for posterity?
I think that's on film.
It is.
Our home audience can do the math.
Well, the reason he had tried everywhere to get a commission, and he didn't weigh enough, didn't have enough chest expansion, and he couldn't do his own because he had broken it sometime. And so that he was turned down. So I said he had tried every state he had been in.
To get into the military?
Well, he was 33. And he was too old to be drafted, we thought. But 1933.
33 or 43?
And 43. And so, on October the 5th, he called from the office and says, what are you doing? And I don't know what I said. He said, well, you better sit down. You were already 2 weeks late.
I wasn't born yet. Oh.
So, he said, well, you better sit down. And when I sat down, he said, I have been drafted. And he was 33, I believe. So he and Bill Garvin next door decided they would go anyway and try to get a commission. And this man, this doctor who passed him, said, well, I've been trying to get out of this service, and I'm going to pass you off. And 1st of December, he got the commission.
For the Navy, in the Navy, as a lieutenant.
Because he was 33, if you were 29. Bill Garvin was an ensign. And she came over every morning for a month.
Becky Garvin?
Becky. There's a letter over there, but I don't know which one, that Pat sends me every year. Those are the kind of addresses that I would some way or other so I could read them and get word to them that I've moved.
Okay, well, we'll type them up for you.
Well, I think that we should probably head on back to Birmingham.
Please call in so I won't be in hell for a week.
Okay.
Okay.
And call Ebert and tell her if you're going to invite her to dinner.
Okay.